This is Luke Martin with coding problem set 4 WordGame. Here I'm copying and pasting the starter code that was provided. And then I show that the words.txt file has already been uploaded. Here I initialize the value score to the sum of all the letters, like the Scrabble value letters that were up at the top of the code that was given. And then I create a for loop in the word, so basically all the letters that I'm provided, and then times the length of the word. And then I create an if loop, or an if statement, saying if the length of the word equals n, which is just a variable set, the score increases by 50. So basically that means if I use every single letter for my name, I get plus 50 points, and then it returns the score. Here for problem 2, I start off with creating a new variable called updated hand, and I set it equal to a copy of the current hand. So my reasoning for this is, and within the game, you have the option to do your old hand, and I don't want to change up what the hand is within this function. So I create a copy of it, so that way I don't mess with the actual value of hand. And then I create a for loop for letter in word, and then an if statement if the letter is in the hand, but I use updated hand, so I don't change it. Then updated hand with the within brackets letter, so basically within the parameters, is subtracted by 1, so it gets rid of that letter if it's chosen. And then and I do another if statement within that, and if updated hand within letter equals 0, then basically the del function I use is basically unbinds the updated hand variable, so that way it can be changed, and then it returns the updated hand at the very end. So for this is valid word function, I had to initialize hand frequency. So basically, it finds like how many times a letter is in the hand you're given. That way, you can repeat letters. So if a word that you choose has two letters in it, because you have two letters, it's actually able to scan for that. And so I do hand frequency, initialize a new variable with that, and then get frequency dictionary word. So basically, it gets the frequency of every single letter within it. And then I do an if statement. If word is not in the word list, it comes out as false. And then for letter in the word, so I do a for loop, and then another if loop underneath it. If hand frequency get letter 0 is greater than hand get letter 0. So basically, if the frequency of it is greater than what it actually is, or like than 1, so basically it means if there's more than 1, it returns false. And then else return true, but I don't need an else statement. I can just write return true because it does it automatically. For the calculate hand length, all I needed to do was return the sum of all of the like letters that are used in the hand. So all I do is return sum, and then in parentheses hand dot values, and then I put another set of parentheses after it because it's a list. For the play hand function, I start off by initializing a new variable called total score, and I set it to 0. And then I create a while loop. And for the while loop, I do while calculate hand length, so the function I just did, and then with the parameters of hand, is greater than 0. Then it prints current hand, and it tells you what your hand is. And then I do comma end equals, so basically it ends it and then does a space afterwards. And then I do display hand. So basically it's a function to show what your hand is, the same function that it's already provided for me. And then I do word equals, so I create a new variable for an input. I do word equals the input, and it's like enter the word you want to enter, or a period to indicate you're done. And then I create a new if statement. If word is equal to the period, it breaks, so it ends the loop. And then else if it's not, if you rerun if it's not a valid word, so basically it just runs that function, scanning whether or not it's a valid word, and then print invalid word or invalid entry, whatever I put it down as, and then an else statement, and it initiates word score, and then get word score, word m and n, and then total score plus the word score, so basically adds them together, and like at the end to calculate your overall score, and then it prints the word, so like that's what you have left, and then earned blank points, and then so it's basically like the word you said, earned however many points you made, and then the total points are added at the end. And then I take the variable hand and set it equal to update hand, which was the earlier function. And then I print out the total. It says total score for this hand, and then it prints out the total score, which is the total score plus the word score. And then it returns the total score at the end back to what it was, so it can repeat it. Here I was thinking about making a barrier to like make it look nicer. Then I decided to just skip lines instead of doing that. And then I realized that I can just put it in the initial one. I don't even need that extra line. And finally, for the play game function, I start off with setting a variable hand equal to nothing or none. And then I create a while loop, so while true, so while the hand is equal to nothing, I create a new variable called choice, and it's an input, and it says enter N to deal new hand, or R to replay last hand, or E to end the game. And so that's the choices, N, R, or E. And so then I create an if loop for the choice N to start off with, and I do not an if loop, if statement. So under that if statement, I do hand equals deal hand, and then which is the earlier function, and then play hand, which is also a earlier function, and it runs both of them, and do an else if statement. If it's so basically N is running the functions, and then if they input R, so else if choice equals R, then it's I do another if statement under, so if hand, and then play hand, so it plays the same hand that it just did, and then another else statement, basically saying if they haven't played a hand previously, then it will print out you haven't played that hand, or like you haven't played a hand yet, and then an else if statement for if they pick E, and it just gives out a exit message, so it just says thanks for playing or good game, and then breaks the loop, so I just do break. And then anything else, so one last else statement, I do invalid entry. And here I run the program. I start off by showing that R works. If you enter E, it exits, and then I rerun the program to actually play the game.